Why do we wear masks? We wear them for approval, for success, for safety. A mask to be the perfect employee. A mask to be the happy friend. But what happens when the mask becomes so comfortable you forget the face beneath? What happens when the mask starts wearing you? This was the question that lived in the silent heart of Julian. On the outside, Julian was the very picture of success. His office was a testament to his ambition, a glass box high above the city where the skyline bowed to his achievements. Just moments ago, he had been the center of attention in a crowded boardroom. Applause echoed as he finished his presentation, and he offered the room his signature smile, the perfect executive smile. It was confident, charming, and utterly convincing. But now, the applause has faded. The room is empty. The silence is deafening. Julian stands alone, gazing at his reflection in the floor-to-ceiling window. The smile is gone. In its place is a void, an unsettling emptiness. He sees a stranger looking back at him, a man he vaguely recognizes but no longer knows. The well-tailored suit feels less like clothing and more like a costume. He feels like a fraud, an actor playing the part of Julian in a life that feels increasingly hollow. The mask of success has become his cage. One evening, the feeling became unbearable. The air in his pristine apartment felt thin, suffocating. He needed to escape. Not just the apartment, but the life he had so meticulously built. He walked without a destination, letting his feet carry him away from the sterile, steel and glass world he knew. He wandered through streets that grew older and quieter with every step. The hum of the city softened into a murmur. He found himself on a narrow, cobblestone street he had never seen before, lined with old brick buildings that leaned into each other like old friends. In the middle of the lane, a small shop glowed with a warm, inviting light. A simple wooden sign hung above the door, its letters carved with care, Hemlock's threads of being, drawn by an impulse he couldn't explain. Julian pushed the door open. A small bell chimed softly. The air inside smelled of old wood, wool, and something ancient and calming. Seated in the center of the room was an old man, his back to the door, his focus entirely on a massive, intricate tapestry stretched across a large wooden frame. He was a tailor, but his work was more like art. With a needle and thread, he was quietly, patiently weaving. Julian stood there for a long moment, watching the old tailor work. The rhythmic, gentle motion of the needle passing through the fabric was mesmerizing. It was the complete opposite of his own frantic, high-stakes world. He didn't know why he was here, or what he was looking for, but the words tumbled out of him anyway, quiet and raw. I don't know who I am anymore. I feel like performance. The old tailor, Mr. Hemlock, didn't turn around. He simply nodded, as if he had been expecting this very confession. He completed his stitch with deliberate care, then finally set his needle down. Slowly he rose and turned to face Julian. His eyes were kind and held a deep, quiet understanding. Without a single word, he walked over to a heavy wooden rack in the corner of the shop. From it, he lifted a magnificent ceremonial cloak. It was woven with threads of gold and silver, adorned with polished stones and intricate embroidery. It was a masterpiece, something made for a king. He held it out to Julian. "Put this on." Confused, Julian did as he was told. He slipped his arms into the cloak. It was glorious. He could feel the sheer artistry in its creation, but it was also impossibly heavy. The weight settled on his shoulders like a physical burden. and the fabric was so stiff and ornate that it restricted his every move. He felt trapped within its splendor. "I can't. I can barely move in this," Julian said, his voice strained. Mr. Hemlock nodded again, his gaze gentle. "A fine mask," he said softly. "People will applaud it. They will admire its beauty and its craft, but it is not made for living, Julian. It is made for display." Julian looked down at the suffocating finery, and for the first time, he understood. This was his life, a beautiful, celebrated display that he could not truly live in. The tailor then gestured back. "Look at the tapestry," he said. "Your life, your success, your performance, it is all this gold and silk. You have spent your entire life weaving it, making it brighter, more impressive, more acclaimed." His gnarled finger traced the path of a shimmering gold thread. Then he pointed to something else, something Julian hadn't noticed before. Running through the very heart of the complex design was a single, simple thread of plain, undyed wool. It wasn't the brightest or the most beautiful. It was humble and almost hidden among the dazzling colors. "But this," the tailor said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "this is the guide thread. It is the first thread placed on the loom. It is not the most impressive, but it gives the entire structure its strength. Without it, the entire tapestry would unravel into a meaningless pile of string. You have been so busy weaving the mask of gold and silk, you have forgotten your thread. You are not the cloak, Julian. You are the thread." The tailor's words struck Julian with the force of a lightning bolt. He stared at that simple, unassuming wool thread. It was plain, it was honest, it was real, and it was the core of everything. He looked from the thread to his own hands, the hands that had signed deals, shaken hands, and typed endless emails, the hands that had built the cloak. A profound realization washed over him, and it wasn't one of loss, but of rediscovery. He hadn't lost himself. He had just covered himself up. He had buried his true self, his guide thread, under layers and layers of beautiful, heavy, suffocating gold. The goal wasn't to tear down the tapestry, to destroy the success he had built. The goal was to find that thread again, to reconnect with his core, his authenticity, and let it guide the rest of the weaving. As this understanding bloomed within him, he felt the impossible weight of the ceremonial cloak lift from his shoulders, as if it had turned to smoke and air. He was still standing in the tailor's shop, but for the first time in years, he felt light. He felt free. We don't end our story in the quiet magic of the tailor's shop. We return to the world of glass and steel, to a high-stakes board meeting. Julian is there, but he is different. The air is tense. A colleague challenges him aggressively, trying to corner him, to force a reaction. The old Julian would have immediately reached for a mask. The angry executive, the unflappable leader, the strategic genius. He would have performed his way out of the confrontation, but this time, he does something else. He pauses. It's a short pause, barely noticeable to the others, but in that moment, he closes his eyes and finds his thread. He feels that quiet, steady, authentic core within himself. When he speaks, his voice is calm. His answer is not a performance. It is simple, honest, and direct. It holds a quiet power that disarms the aggression in the room more effectively than any display of dominance ever could. He is still a successful executive. The tapestry of his life is still impressive. But he is no longer just the performance. He is Julian first. He is the thread guiding the weave, and that has made all the difference. The moral of this story is that true authenticity is not about destroying the masks we sometimes need to wear to navigate life. It's about remembering and staying connected to the true self, the simple, core thread that lies beneath them all. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content that explores the deeper threads of our lives.